Hey, everybody, welcome to Seated with Strangers. This season, we're exploring the topic of unsubscribing from pop culture and social norms. My name is Whitney, and I'm seated with Adwoa and Kwase. On today's episode, we're talking all about unsubscribing from toxic music.
So,
Hey, hey.
hello.
Hey, girl.
I'm just going to set it off. So, what is toxic music?
Oof.
A loaded question.
I think it's a bit too loaded because what might be toxic to me may not be toxic to you. So that's like, I'm gonna let Whitney, what you think, girl? Because I'm gonna bounce off of you, sis.
I feel the same way. I think when I think about toxic, I'm going to start with what I don't think about. I don't think about like respectability. I don't feel like something is necessarily toxic just because it doesn't subscribe to like respectability politics of like pull up your pants. Like I don't feel like that makes something toxic. What I do think is toxic is when it comes to music, it's something that's going to kind of like promote a culture that's detrimental. And I think very specifically about kind of like music where they were talking about like the recreational use of like really hard drugs. That was like a huge kind of like trend for like the last like 15 years of music. And I feel like it led to people being like, oh yeah, like this is so normal. And I'm like, people are literally like dying behind this kind of like culture that we're creating in music. So to me, that's when it leans towards toxic, when it's like life threatening. It's creating a culture within our culture that is making people lose their lives, them not being able to kind of have the quality of life that they need to have. So that's what I think.
I like that. Because I look at that side of it too, but I also look as toxic being like there are some songs that are toxic, like love toxic, like that are teaching you to have a toxic attitude towards love and towards relationships
Facts.
and towards things of that nature. So I do look at it through your lens as well as seeing the toxicity of using drugs, of them promoting like over here lean, which is very dangerous but very common in the songs. There's many songs about just popping pills. So it is a lot of, like you said, it's a very loaded question, and there's a lot of ways that you can look at how toxic music is.
Facts.
Yeah, that's quite deep because I think it's one of those things that if you try and pigeonhole it, you may pigeonhole yourself.
Ooh, you better say that. Like, am I toxic?
Am I toxic?
Right. Am I the drama?
Because even like when you think about it, you think about what toxic is. It's like poisonous, or it's very harmful, it's unpleasant. And so for everybody in different situations, toxic can mean different things. And so I kind of feel like you have to, and also toxic, when you're thinking about it, could deal with my trigger points and things that trigger me. So, it could be a bad relationship. It could be the way someone spoke to me. It can be a plethora of things. So I kind of feel like, what is toxic music? I think it really depends on the person and their mindset and where they are and what they've come through or what they're going through. Like,
yeah. I'm glad that you pointed that out about love songs, because I go back and listen to like songs we loved in the 90s and early 2000s. I'm like,
girl,
that's what we thought love was. Ooh,
right.
We were not well. We were not well.
We was not, like, I was listening to I'm trying to think of what I was listening to out there, and I was like, my kids were like, and you talk about our music. I was
right.
Like,
facts.
I said, I'm so sorry. I said we was all just in a bad place.
Right. Now, the second part, do you think Black America is ready to cancel toxic hip hop culture?
Nope.
She was like, no.
No, ma'am. No.
Makes too much money. It brings too much relevance for where they are. It's a cash cow.
Yeah.
I think we're all just too ingrained in it. I think everybody on every level, different generations, like everyone is just at some point, because I just think with like you said, with the toxicity of music, like when music was being put out, like I'm an 80s baby. I don't know about everybody else.
80s baby.
79, boo. Just
hey.
Let's go, girl. And so with that being said, it's like we came from a very toxic hip hop age where we didn't realize that, you know, older men were really after younger underage girls.
Say
You
that.
know, that wasn't how society looked at it though. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Right.
looked at as toxic. It was like,
Right.
This is the
people looked at
norm.
like, okay, you know, I got an older man picking me up from high school, you know, and I'm getting stuff
Right.
paid
Yes,
for,
yes.
and you know, you were like the local hero. And now fast forward 30 years later, and they're like, me too. And you're
Me
like,
too. And you're like,
You
oh,
you
yeah,
like, oh,
me
me
too.
too, me
Me too.
like,
too.
oops. Like, you know, like, and that just shows that
Yeah,
the
yeah,
music that was out at that time, age ain't nothing but a number, and you know,
right.
you're singing it and you're throwing down ain't nothing but a thing, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with this, and this is my jam, and it's Aaliyah, and she's sweet and innocent, and it's like nobody looked at it through that lens. That was toxic
No.
AF.
So toxic. So
So
toxic.
toxic.
And
Like,
it begs to ask the question, was hip hop or in like our culture's music from like the last 20 years, was it like built on a foundation of toxicity? Like I feel like it's ingrained in the culture, unfortunately.
Listen.
I
And I'm a hip hop head. I love
Listen,
hip hop.
listen. I'm brown sugar. I love hip hop. Hip hop loves me. I am hip hop. Hip hop is me. But I think when we think about, unfortunately, Black culture, and we think about the amount of, and I know this might go kind of off topic in a sense, but we think about some of the stigmas in our culture from molestation, from underage rape, from all of these moments that happen that are swept under the rug in the Black household, where men are hitting on young girls and come and sit on my lap, baby girl. Come in. This is a culture that we perpetually allowed. Well, maybe not just us, but our families allowed to happen. And so it's almost that space where, like they say, music imitates art, life imitates music, music imitates art, all of that kind of stuff. When we think about it, sometimes we look at the young boys and we're like, oh, you're rapping about this. And it's like, well, I'm rapping what I know.
Yeah.
When we're looking at the toxic culture of what we've come from, and like you said, the age ain't nothing but a number. Those moments where young women are in the space where they're being exploited.
Yeah.
We kind of came from that. We came from that. So it's kind of like, how do you now unravel and unwind this culture that we came from?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is. It's deep. It's real deep.
And I'm not sure at what point it became that, because, you know, my understanding from, you know, the beginning of hip hop and how it took place was people in like little backyard encasements, listening to records, scratching up records, enjoying themselves around friends. That's how it started. So it's like, at what point did all of this come in? And I feel like once it went mainstream,
that's what I'm just about to say.
It was like, now it becomes this.
Back to your point about brown sugar. I think, you know, she makes a good point at one point in the movie where she says, I never thought I'd see the day when hip hop would grow up. And it's almost like hip hop grew up and became mainstream, and now we no longer have like a hold on it. It's not ours anymore. So how can you change something that no longer belongs to you, unfortunately?
That's a deep question. Okay, so now we're thinking about it, and we're talking about, okay, the fact of what hip hop has become and what it looks like, and the accountability factor. So can we separate the artist from the music? I know that this is a question that is good. You need to see. She like, cause it's like,
girl.
Okay, can we? Because you know, I'm trying this. I'm not gonna. He who shall not be named. But there is some music that I'm like, I do miss certain songs.
It's hard because I think music it has such a like nostalgic factor to it. Like, you literally can hear a song and it will transport you to a moment in time, whether you want to go or not. It will take you back there. And so it becomes difficult to separate like that memory from something when you know what the artist is. Like it's a struggle, but for me, like there are some very clear lines. As much as like I got some good memories tied to it, like baby, I can't be out here supporting foolishness. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
And
What you saying, Q?
Especially proven
it was a struggle because I mean, I loved R. Kelly.
Yes,
I'm just gonna put it out there. I loved him.
me too.
And also, I'll keep it even realer. I saw the tape. And still, like, I mean, at the time when I saw the tape, I was in high school. So I don't think you truly understood like the ramification because it was already kind of low-key okay that older men were with younger women like that. So it wasn't an alarm at that time when I saw it and took it in that context. And he's made great songs. Like he has a song Love Letter. I know exactly where I was and when I heard that song and what I felt. But like now it's like it was so undeniable. It's like it's almost like a taboo now.
Yeah, it tainted the sound.
It's tainted.
Yeah.
And that's quite deep, you know, Kwate, because when you're talking about it, I remember that. Like I'm just like you. I remember I even remember the conversation about him and Aaliyah being married. I remember that conversation between me and my friends. And so it's not until I'm older now that I'm like, wait a minute, sis,
not okay.
That's not okay.
Yeah. And are either of you are y'all from Chicago?
No, I grew up in New York.
So like the crazy part about that is that wasn't something that was being reported on TV. They weren't talking about R. Kelly with young girls on TV, but we all knew. I'm from Alabama. We all knew this was a thing in our respective neighborhoods. So it was that prevalent. But we had normalized it so much in our communities. It just felt like he was the same as the dude who picked the girl up from high school.
And why do you think we normalize that though? Because that's so weird to me. Because
trauma.
But this is what I'm saying. Like those layers, those underground, those layers that are there, where it's like, yo, what is going on? Okay, look, I can't, because we gonna go into too much.
We needed a therapist seated with us.
We do, right? Why do you think that some artists get a pass and others don't? Because if you think about it, if you remember, Chris Brown had a real situation happen.
I got it even more unpopular.
Oh, come on. What you saying? Come on, talk to me, sis.
Because nobody ever wants to talk about my Jigga man. And Jigga, like, you can't erase people that were there, Jay-Z. Like,
and I'm
real. Beyonce and him, they're 12 years apart. She was 18 or 17 or 16. Whoever was around, everyone has a different age. But more than that, he was with Aaliyah too.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother. We could do a whole nother show.
Maybe we should just start a whole new tea.
Right. Separate. Yeah, but like I was.
And I don't know what the like line of demarcation is. I don't know what makes some people like untouchable and others not. I honestly don't have an answer for that. But we are very like. You get a pass, it's almost like we got the flyer like he loves me not, and we just decide based on that. I don't know, there's no like rhyme or reason to why people get a pass. They just do. I mean, most of the time it's men, but you know, that's that. So since we've had, you know, a cultural dig deep session, let's talk about what's happening out here in the internet streets. All right, let's get to it. So Meg Thee Stallion, who we all, you know, love, she's a hot girl. She's been talking about her hot girl summer for like 4 summers now. And, you know, COVID won't really let us have one, but here we are. But Meg has been encouraging people to go back to college because, you know, she recently just graduated from, I think, Texas Southern. Shout out to HBCUs. Woo! She's also been encouraging people to give back to their community. She's been giving back to her community. But do you all think that her music cancels out her accomplishments?
So I'll just say once again, I'm from the Little Kim generation. Foxy Brown. That's who I was raised on.
The ill Nana.
Right? The ill Nana.
you know, the Il Nana, and they had their rules and their regulations, and what you needed to do and not do, and give and not give.
Yeah.
However, I still went to college. Like, one has nothing to do with the other. Like, Meg the Stallion, that's her persona, but obviously Megan, in the background, she's getting her papers and her ducks in a row. So she can get up there, as far as I'm concerned, and sing about whatever she wants. But in the background, she's gonna have her little plaques up on the walls or whatever she's trying to do.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, it's
agree
no
with you on
different.
that.
Yeah, I hear you. Like, I feel like, especially with Meg, I think she, you know, regardless of how you feel about her music, or I'm not a massive fan. My daughter loves her, like, but I'm not a massive fan. But one of the things that I did say to my daughter the other day is, I said, I do love the way she doesn't shy from showing you. Don't get it twisted. This little black girl is smart. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. I know how I'm doing it. So I feel like, unlike maybe other artists, there is a depth to Meg that she shows us.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's kind of like I root for her, because I'm like,
right,
I see what you're trying to build, and I see what you're, now the way you're doing it, it may not be my cup of tea, it may not be what I want, because I'm older now. But when I was my daughter's age, yo, I was rocking with little Kim and had my little, you know, my little booty shorts on and doing what I got to do. Yeah, so I kind of, I don't see that space where we're like, okay, no, she sings this, so we shouldn't look at her accomplishments and actually give her her props. I'm kind of like, no, let's give it to her, because sis is doing what she has to do, and she's doing very well.
Yeah, and I think she's from like a different generation. I think when we think about even the artists that we loved who were like Meg equivalent of our day, I think a lot of theirs was being forced from labels. Like, this is who you have to be successful. It almost feels to me like she's like taking that and flipping it on his head and saying, no, this is my choice. I'm reclaiming my body. I'm saying that I'm okay with like who I am, what I look like, and I'm going to celebrate that. But I'm not one dimensional. I'm also a scholar. I'm also a philanthropist. And so I think she's kind of taken this idea of like, you know, how Black women are often perceived. And she said, no, we're more than that. Like, we can be that, but we're also this too. And it's okay to be both. So I do root for Meg. I mean, I want Meg to be happy and succeed. So as we're talking about, you know, like her standards though, do you, and the standards that we're holding her to, do y'all feel like we're holding artists, Meg, any of the other artists we can name, are we holding them to standards that may not be their own?
Yes.
Definitely.
I would have to say yes, because, and just in speaking, because my twin brother is Chris Brown, we have the same birthday, so I've always felt like they hold these celebrities to this standard that they're supposed to be role models and holier than thou, and they're supposed to not get in trouble. And I don't know about anybody else, but my 20s was an entire mess. And these celebrities are living their 20s and living their moments that are supposed to be private, that are supposed to be their private failures in public eye. So I just think it's very unrealistic to make, you know, you're supposed to be a martyr, or no, like, they're just trying to navigate in this world between having a personal life and being Nicki Minaj or Chris Brown or Beyonce, and not being Onika, you know what I mean?
No, definitely.
Like, they sign up to express their art, not to be a role model. That's what they sign up for.
You know what? I think that's society though, isn't it? We're always looking to pour out maybe our insufficiency and what we're looking at onto those who we feel have a platform to do it. And a lot of the times we try and take away our standard and put it on them and say, well, they're not making it and they're not doing it, and no, we should cancel them. And it's like, well, no, maybe you should just check your life, live how you're supposed to live, and let other people find and do what they're supposed to do. So yeah, I do agree. I think that we're putting our own standards on people, that it's like, how can you put your standard and you don't even live up to your standard? How about that?
Oh my God. I say that all the time. I tell people, you don't even do everything you say that you should do. So how are you asking people who you've never met and don't know you exist to live up to a standard in your house?
Come
but
on.
you know, what do I know? What do I know?
What do we know? What knoweth me? No,
Not a thing.
not a thing. But let me ask you this, because obviously, we talk about women a lot. Do you think that we give men a pass in toxic music more than we do for women? Like when we think about, Cardi and even Meg's song, people was in an uproar. There's so many different things that we see women do that get criticism and get pushback. Do you feel like we give men more of a pass when it comes to toxic music than we do with women?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think that happens?
Because of the patriarchy. I mean,
Yeah.
The way it's set up, you see.
yeah, I mean, it's systemic. I mean, we have phrases in the world like "boys will be boys." I mean,
Right.
like that's kind of the mentality that you grow up with. Like girls are taught to be good girls, but boys will be boys. And
Yeah.
so I think, like you said, art imitates life. That comes out in the music, and because that's our cultural norm, we're not thinking about a man putting out toxic music. Oh, that's just how men are. It's locker room talk. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh.
Sorry. Different show.
Different show, different topics. And that's interesting. Do you think these songs reinforce negative stereotypes of women? Like, I know when we're listening to certain things, do you think that what we allow, the passes that we give men and the songs that they release, do you feel that they reinforce these negative stereotypes of women?
Very much so.
Yeah. And always
Because
have.
How do we
there's a couple of like, look at how people used to talk about Mary J. Blige. And they
right?
always come down on her albums like, oh my God, when is she ever gonna get man? All her songs are about this, and they're all sad and they're all depressing and But then Drake writes the same kind of songs, and people don't say that. They love it.
Drake is Mary J. Blige. You are so right.
She
You
is
are so
And
right.
he's now Mary J.
that's an
Blige
epiphany.
for
I'm like,
everybody right now. And it's just like nobody says that about him. Like
No.
all of his accolades are celebrated. He's the man,
Mhm.
even when he raps
right.
about buying purses. But then all of that, like that's just toxic too. But what
Yeah.
he gets a pass. You don't hear
Yeah.
them talk about him like how they talk about, or they used to talk about Mary and her
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah. And I
Mm,
think like so many people, unfortunately, like build their philosophy about women from media. And so a
right,
lot of times men like they will listen to artists like Future and they will determine like all women like this, all women think like this. And it's
right.
like what women have you been talking to, sir? Because I don't know a single woman who behaves like this. Please stop listening to songs to dictate how women are. And I
Yeah,
do think it reinforces a negative stereotype. And unfortunately, it's like no getting through to them on it. It's like we need to have
right.
a community meeting in
And
every
see, but
community.
then that's the problem for me, because then what we're also going to look at then is generations after generations after generations that will all keep thinking this way
Mm-hmm.
until you kind of find this breakout moment. And so it's sometimes the question, and I think even when we're dealing with music, sometimes it is that question of how do we break out of that cultural norm of this toxic way that men refer, the way that men see women, to the point where we're like, actually, this is no longer how we view our women. This is no longer how we view them and their beauty and who they are and in
Yeah.
their splendor. Like, it's such an interesting balance, because I feel like we're continually in this circle, on this hamster wheel, and
Yeah.
no one knows how to get off.
I think men and women, whoever has the negative stereotype, but especially men, have to make the conscious decision. I'm always encouraged when I am on Twitter or I'm on social media
Mm,
and I see a man who's like, no, I'm standing up for this black woman. You're not going to degrade her. I'm not going to allow you to
yeah.
speak this way. I don't talk about women in this way. Like, I'm always encouraged. They are definitely the minority, but they've made a
Mm,
conscious effort of, I'm not going to follow in the tradition of the way that we've been
yeah.
behaving. And I just think it's a choice. You've got to want to be different at the end of the day.
Oof. That's
Right.
deep.
Right.
That's deep.
And you very rarely do you see, like, just recently there was a man that was on a podcast.
Oh, girl.
And he was going off about Black women, and the host threw a drink on him and threw him out of the studio. And I was just like, whoa,
That's the
like,
kind of energy.
that's
the
the kind of
kind of
energy that is
energy.
needed at every time. And I think that unfortunately that toxic music is so ingrained into everything. Like, that's toxicity is now the new norm.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's, you know,
The
it's
new
not,
black.
you know, the old fashioned love stories. That's not what people are into anymore. It's like leaving you
Right.
I
on
mean,
red and ghosting
yes.
you. Like, those are the new cool things to do, and that's what it's all
It's-
about.
I think about what are the love songs we're gonna play. We're gonna
Right.
still be playing
Oh
our
my-
parents' love songs
This is what I'm
when we're
saying.
old.
But this is what and this is the thing that I was saying to my kids the other day. I was like, you have to reach back to my time and my mom's time
Mhm.
to be able to actually speak from a song perspective
Yeah.
on how you feel, because your songs and your music are about toxic behavior.
What's a song for you for this generation? I mean, it does not exist. Who's the Luther Vandross of
We
this
ain't got one.
generation? It doesn't
got one.
exist.
We ain't got one.
We're gonna be playing A House Is Not a Home in 2066.
maybe, what's his face?
PJ Morton.
I know
No, oh God, what's Lucky Day?
Okay, I do love him.
yes.
I do
Okay.
love him.
But no, but listen, but remember, how big is Lucky Day?
Right. He's very under the radar.
Like, he's under the radar. Like, my kids only know him because we are a musical house and we love music. So,
right.
But it's like the average child ain't gonna, they're gonna be like, Lucky who?
Right.
Lucky
I hope it's a lucky day.
Because I'm just like going through my head of like, what's a love song that I've recently heard from just the new generation that I like, and there really isn't a love song.
No. I mean, a few years ago, what's his name that got, like, they canceled him on Twitter though. Best Part, Daniel Caesar, like his song was like the last and only love song I can think of from like this decade, honestly.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad. It's sad that this generation has hit this space of toxic music, or music that deals with a lot of toxic environments or natures or things or situations, and you can't actually like cipher through them to find that good stuff. It's just it's crazy. I'm just hoping and praying for this next generation. Like just give us someone rise up from the ashes.
Right.
Just rise up from the ashes. Bring us that good R&B, that
good somebody.
Will there be one? It's looking bleak.
I know. Is there a heart in the house tonight?
Maybe we should make a girl band,
right?
And do the thing.
Let's do it. Let's do
it. Like, they not
ready. Exactly. Just write some old time love songs.
Some old time love songs.
Right. Ooh. I mean, if somebody's got to do it, it might as well be us.
It might as well be us.
Oh, ladies, this has been so much fun. This was the best. I love talking music. I love talking about our culture. So thank y'all so much. This was really, really fun.
This was really fun time.
It was amazing. You guys are amazing. I'm excited.
You are as well. You are as well. Best strangers I've ever talked to.
Right.
You didn't even think we were strangers. You think
I know. I don't even be talking to strangers.